Capriato, the Service Aftermarket's podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato. Good to have you all here. Yeah, it was like 9.5 years ago and started the podcast, and I said, what could we say? What would our signature thing be, our subtitle? And it was listen to learn just one thing. So happy to be doing this for so many great episodes with so many incredible people from the industry coming on and sharing their insights and their wisdoms so that everybody's life improves. I want to let you know that we're going to a conference in Ontario, Canada. It's the AARO event, September 12th through the 14th. Insightful business training, cutting-edge technical Lindertech training, and that should ring a bell or pique your interest. They've got something for everyone. Join me and Tracy at the exclusive reception and trade show, September 12th through the 14th. This event's going to sell out fast, so secure your spot at aaro.ca for Canada. Wow. Look who's here with me today. It's Parker Branch. Parker.
How are you?
I'm great, man. Good to see you. A shout out to the Institute and Michael Smith. We're recording this on a particular Friday, and you and Tracy just spent 3 days in Denver.
We did. It was amazing. We attended the Institute's Leadership Intensive with Michael Smith. Mind-blowing.
We so appreciate Michael Smith and the Institute for having Tracy out there. She came back on it, like anytime I would ever go to a conference, and I think you too, Parker, so on a high, and then trying to sort it all out and say, what can I start doing next? And should I bring any of this to my people, and are they going to be ready for it? I mean, I think we're smarter today that you can't come back from any kind of conference and flood your world with all the things you took away. But more importantly, is that if you don't do anything about what you just invested in, then shame on you. So I've always thought that there's a process or a discipline is the word I'm thinking about on how to change, you internally, because this was a personal, intensive leadership conference on discovering, releasing, empowering your extraordinary human potential. I just love the title of that class.
Oh, it was fantastic. I know we have a morning huddle every day, and when we got back yesterday, the crew was eager to hear what we had been up to. And, we meet out in the shop. We have a big screen TV with our job board on there that we dispatch and manage the day from. And everybody circled around. And before we got into that, they were like, tell us about it. And we were a little bit mush between the ears, but we were excited to share some of the wonderful things we learned from this that really had to do with just us as humans and our communications and our leadership and how we would engage them, and some, shared a couple of fun ideas where we're going to start taking bites of this whale.
I love that. Bites of the whale. Yeah, a little bite at a time. Yeah, Tracy came back. She says, oh, my brain is like Swiss cheese. She actually went to the Elite Fly with the Eagles, I think about 3 weeks before that in Denver. And it was amazing. Swiss cheese again for her.
Oh, good.
It's great to have this going on inside of our industry. It's not about Tracy going. It's about the fact that our industry does this for our top shop operators and for people who want to become top shop operators. I forgot to mention Parker Branch from Branch Automotive. I'll get my words right, in Littleton, Colorado. How long you been in business, man?
Started in January of 10, so coming up on 15 years.
Good for you. This is a great story. One of the things that we're going to really highlight in this episode, and I think you're going to love it, to my listener, thank you all for being here, is about productivity, about being lean. And when you hear about the production that Parker does in his shop and what his plans are in the future, I think it's going to really kind of blow your mind. He talked about morning huddle. We're going to talk about keeping his funnel full. We're going to talk about service advisor interviews, which is a really great concept that you do during the day. So many things. So I love the morning huddle, and I really want to kind of almost I may have you back to be on a panel to talk about morning huddles, call them meetings, And I was thinking of bringing a team in that does this religiously to actually say, what's the format? What's the menu look like? What are the people listening for? Who is in charge? Everybody's got a different way of doing it. And I don't think people know how to start. And I was thinking, wow, what if we could have an episode? We could bring people in. Here's what we do. Here's what we do. Here's what they do. And somebody picks it and starts. So the morning huddle, critical to your operation, right?
Well, yeah, that's how we get started. Years ago, I was in charge of the morning huddle. And as time went on and we got some key leaders in place, we have a lead technician that took over out in the shop. He basically just interviews each of the technicians in front of the whole group by following across our job board and up on the big screen. And he wants to learn, hey, how many jobs do you have? Where are you at with this, job? And might you be ready for additional work, or do you have some work lined up? We don't want you to run out of work. We don't want to work until all their jobs are completed, and then they have to start diagnosing and have downtime. So maybe a little bit of planning for some diagnosis in the morning so that inspection and so forth can get done. That can get passed off to the advisors. So they can be working on estimates and approvals for the next job that will come for that tech. We look at the incoming work for the day, dispatch that as appropriate, and just kind of make a game plan to keep the funnel full.
You don't mind sharing the volume of your operation so that I think people can get an idea of the sheer size of why your processes are so important?
Sure, not at all. What KPIs do you want to know about?
Can you do any of the volume? I mean, how many millions you're doing?
This year, we're tracking a little over 4 million. We're 8 bays and just added 6. So we're just beginning to get the additional 6 bays up and producing. But 4 million is our goal this year on paper. I'll be a little disappointed if we don't go a little beyond that, just internally. That's me. And once we get the knobs adjusted a little bit, I think we can hit 5 million next year.
I'm sorry. I love that term, the knobs adjusted. Parker, that is a great metaphor for tweaking your business.
We're constantly looking at ourselves, but we also try to make sure that we're not just driving everybody crazy worrying about KPIs, and everybody knows their expectations and where we want to get to. This last year, we've kind of changed our focus to really, hey, let's have a good time fixing trucks and making people happy. And so having Michael's input this week with the leadership intensive really kind of played to what we had already kind of come away from some earlier meetings this year and come back to the team and said, hey, you know what, guys, let's just have a good time, have fun doing this.
And you brought your number 2, Daniel, with you. I mean, God, just think of the opportunity that he took away.
Oh, yeah, he loves it. He eats it up. I'm a visionary, and so my mind is all over the place. And Daniel truly is my integrator. He does a great job of helping me rein it in and focus on some great takeaways and key points. And then we work on chipping away at those items. And he really helps me get stuff in place, and it's had just an awesome impact.
Is EOS a big part of your company?
We've studied it some, and we use bits and pieces here and there of it. We talk about it. It's funny. I read Traction a couple of times, listened to it once, and then went on to Rocket Fuel and definitely picked out some stuff we like. Challenged Daniel to do the same. And Traction, he was struggling to get through it. Finally did start to get excited about it. And we don't try to, set the whole place up as or say that we're necessarily a true EOS operation, but we taken it into account and we've taken what we like and tried to implement it for sure.
Well, good for you. You said that you were the visionary and Daniel's integrator, a key component to EOS. On our website, if you just type in EOS or go to our classroom page, you'll find all kinds of episodes on this. So if you're saying, never heard of EOS, and what's Parker, what's this all about? And I am a visionary, and I can't seem to get anything done because I'm not a doer. I'm the guy. I know exactly what you mean. And we all go through these. Once you discover your own self and what your own personal strengths and weaknesses are, you should be able to counter program on how to get things done that you don't want to do. So,
absolutely true.
Are you working? So, and by the way, as another side note to this for Parker, you became a coach for the Institute, huh?
I did. So knowing that my eventual goal would be to transition ownership to some of my key employees eventually. I had talked to Cecil Bullard and Kent Bullard at the Institute. I've been in the program with them, oh gosh, back to 2017. And really, I love it. I'm all in on the gear performance groups that they offer. And
Mm-hmm.
so as I was, considering this, I thought, boy, I'm going to have to think of something to do later because I don't want to just stop. Some engagement probably still with the company as I transition, but as I got talking to Kent and Cecil, they said, boy, you'd make a great coach. You love all the numbers and all the KPIs and so forth. So we started talking the end of last year, and they said, well, let's get you in a program and start training you up, and just ask that we know that you're busy and maybe you could take on a few clients. So I did go through their training process and became a certified coach for the Institute. I have about 5 clients right now, one-on-one coaching. And it's great because just like the gear performance groups, I can see what they're doing, give them some help and some push and some accountability. And at the same time, I'm learning from them.
Great. We were honored to hang out with a gear performance group here in Buffalo just about a month ago, and we just got so much out of it and so much respect for how well these groups work together, hold people accountable. They all want everyone to be super successful, and there's nothing like the only thing I could really say is I've observed these in the past is they take you to a whole new level of individual and a business. I mean, there's nothing like it. You could sit there and you can be a marginal business person and have a hobby and float, but today you got to get your ego out of the way and participate in something like this. Let's go back for a moment to the morning huddle. So you're not there, you're away to conference. It keeps going on without you?
Absolutely. They wouldn't have it any other way. I could jump on a camera and take a look and guarantee that they had already done that probably about 8:15 this morning. They try to give the advisors a chance to handle the morning rush, and we have our customers showing up right at 8 o'clock or just before that are dropping off. So as soon as the advisors free up, we have an office manager up front as well. And so she'll kind of help mitigate the phones if they're ringing while the guys are trying to get out into the shop. But yeah, it's habit. It's habit now.
Parker, based on the volume that you do, give us a little idea of how the customer service people, the service advisors, I don't know the titles that you use in the office, if you will, at the front counter to keep this workflow going, to get yeses from customers, to present DVIs. Do you have different layers of your client advocates?
So we do. We have 4 advisors up front. We try to keep consistency across the 4 advisors in terms of the position so that we don't create any bottlenecks, having a position that all the work would have to go through one person. So each advisor, they're handling phone calls and emails and appointment requests and so forth. Customers, as they arrive, they're letting us know who they are as they're greeted coming in, and the guys are paying close attention to the appointment board. So, oh, hey, Carm, come on over here. Matt's taking care of you today, and setting expectations up front with the customers on how things are going to go. What's our timeline? We are a diesel specialist, so about 95% of what we do is light duty diesel pickup trucks. The timeline on repairs on those vehicles tends to be a bit longer than just general repair. And so we set that expectation. They know that before they even show up. And so the guys just kind of communicate that with them. Here's where we're at. This is what our expectation is of when we should get to the vehicle. We're going to send you a digital vehicle inspection with all of our findings once we have had a chance to look at the vehicle. And that'll be your key to know that we've got it checked out. And once you see that, give us a call. If we're busy enough that we might be a day or two out, we're still going to touch that customer daily just to let them know, hey, here's how things are going. Here's how your vehicle has progressed its way up towards the front of the line. This is what you can expect.
So what's the ratio between your 4 service advisors and the number of technicians in the back? And if you're going to plan $1 million growth for next year with these additional 6 bays, are you planning on adding to your counter?
The pace that we had been on was based on 3 advisors. And when we knew the space was about to open up this year, we did staff up to number 4 advisor. So
Okay.
last year, about 3.5 million on 3 advisors. We added the 4th advisor, and we feel that should carry us as far as we want to go with this particular space.
So that brings me to the point where people are listening to this and says, well, in a diesel shop, the average ARO must be pretty high when you think about having 4 service advisors to 14 bays.
So we do diesel emission testing for the state of Colorado. So it would be kind of like having a quick lube in your business. So we have maybe 130 or more emissions tests a month at a half an hour, and the price is $70 for just a regular pickup truck here in the state of Colorado. We leave those in. We don't try to handicap it because we do have an opportunity to, when those vehicles are in for the inspection, we do a little digital vehicle inspection at the same time. A lot of these customers are new to us. They have to register their vehicle, and they find out after it's 4 years old in Colorado that they'll need an emissions test. So then the state will direct them to us, or we use Shop Marketing Pros, and they help with our ad campaigns to help people find us for that service. When they come in, we do our normal process. The advisors will, let them know, hey, Carm, just want to let you know, truck passed your emissions test. You're all good to go there. By the way, we do a little digital vehicle inspection every time your vehicle's in. Let me show you that real quick. Their screen pivots around. They share it with the customer. Send them the link. This is yours to keep. We don't charge for it. And we'd love to do business with you. If you'll come back, we'll do this for you every time.
How many come back? What's the percentage?
A lot.
Good for you.
It's amazing how many of them are like, wow, you guys we show them how we operate. We try to be very transparent and professional and take good care of them while they're there and let them know. Quite a few of us in my shop, myself included, came from, working for the manufacturers. We're real familiar with their product. And once we talk to them a little bit about that and share, they tend to be excited to have the opportunity to come back and do business with a small business.
Before I lose this fleeting thought of mine, we do, what'd you call it, a small DVI?
Small DVI, digital vehicle inspection.
And the first thing that I thought of was DVI Lite.
That's kind of a neat name.
Isn't it? My mind can't stop thinking. When people say things to me, it says, wow, that's so interesting. We've never talked about doing a shortened version. That's the shortened version of a DVI for a customer going through a lane, like an emissions lane. We'll do a DVI Lite for you. I mean, actually, the problem is that our people on the outside, they don't know what a DVI is. We say DVI to them, and they're clueless. We say, we're going to do a light safety inspection for you, whatever that means. But DVI was a great and important acronym many years ago, and today it doesn't mean anything to the client. We can talk DVI, what's a digital vehicle inspection? Is a robot look at it? Digital. What's digital mean? Maybe an electronic version of picture. I don't know. I'm all wrapped up in language shift in our industry. So I don't mind me, everyone. Everyone knows me. Carm's always playing around with words, and I think they're so darn important. Okay. What's the strategies inside of running this great company with keeping your funnel full?
And my brain is catching up a little bit too. I know you asked what was our ratio. We're running 2 technicians to 1 advisor right now. 2 of those technicians, one, all he does is run the diesel emissions, the dynamometer. We run all those vehicles on a chassis dynamometer for that test. So really, he's just in that bay taking care of the machine and doing that. 1 general service, and then the other 6 are technicians out on the floor. So that leaves us a little bit of capacity still on the staff of advisors with 4. Probably add 1 more technician. We're working on that right now.
So does each tech have 2 bays? Pretty much, it looks like.
Pretty much right now. That's what we have. When we were running just on the 8 bays before we acquired the building next door and added the 6, we actually had 6 technicians sharing 8 bays, 1 having an alignment rack in it. So it was definitely elbow to elbow for the last couple of years in that space.
Hey, AAPEX 2024 registration is now open at AAPEX.com. Now, AAPEX has an incredible value for the service professional, shop owner, technician, and service advisor. Joe's Garage is your place to hang out with 10 working bays and real live working conditions. You'll find special seminars on Audi, VW, BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, under the hood diagnostics, advanced drivability, ADAS calibration, transmission training from ATRA, and more. Business and sales training on mastering organizational skills, time management, leading your team, and driving profits, among others. This year, the training courses are some of the best offered ever with the industry's best and brightest trainers and coaches. This year's AAPEX 2024 will have more product demos, trending training, marketing and social media support to help you grow your career, sales, and profits. Remember, if you earn your living in the aftermarket, then AAPEX is the expo for you. Continue listening as we bring you the latest from AAPEX 2024 and save the date, November 5th through the 7th. Don't hesitate. Go to aapexshow.com. Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. Hey, ever wonder how your labor rate compares to your market and state? You now have a site where you can confidentially upload your rate and see other labor rates published in your market. LaborRateTracker.com is an important site to know about. Currently, the database has over 1,000 shops participating and growing every day. But there's more to setting your rates than finding out what others charge. You should look at the labor rates in your state and town to gain a complete picture of the labor rate landscape. Hey, it's easy. Get market intelligence like never before at LaborRateTracker.com. We still have really interesting things to get to in this episode. Please hang in there. And if not, if you're running out of time, save this thing and come back to it, because Parker's going to talk a whole bunch of things about his carts, his technician carts, which is where he feels that they are so damn efficient is how he's got that thing working. But thank you for coming back to the 2-for-1 thing. Appreciate that. I think that's an important KPI. How do we keep the funnel full?
So that's the morning huddle is the beginning of that. And I talked a little bit about it, that we just need to look forward to see how the technician's workflow is. And you don't want to let them work themselves out of work. A lot of times we'll try to make sure if the guy has one job left or gal has one job left to finish up, maybe 4 or 5 hours, and we know they're going to be done by lunchtime or shortly thereafter, we want to make sure that we go ahead and dispatch their next job or next jobs so that they can take a little bit of time. And also, I've heard it said from some trainers, and especially at the Institute, doing a little diagnosing first thing in the morning when you're fresh and had a good night's sleep tends to help them be extra sharp. So we get things checked out and get the estimation and approval process going, and then they can transition back to the work that they already have. And that way, when they finish their quality control and so forth, they have their next job potentially ready and sold, and they can get onto that. And then again, keep an eye on their workflow, make sure we have something in the funnel, is what we call it, to get on to next.
Is there any one person, is there shop foreman or your guy Daniel, who's hovering over and anticipating the rest of the day as they're looking forward? Who's moving the chess pieces on the board?
Yeah, and that's important too, because things can change throughout the day. So we have a lead technician, Zach, who works for me, and Zach and Daniel will eventually partner in their endeavors as we move forward. But Zach takes care of the back end of the building. Daniel really takes care of the front end. Daniel oversees the back as well to help Zach. But this key leader technician, Zach, he runs the huddle and he kind of pays attention to that metric as far as keeping the funnel full, who needs what. And we try to have one person in charge, even though he's still producing. It just creates some accountability so that if something comes up with a customer, their needs change, rather than not knowing where to go, they know, hey, I'll just go talk to Zach. Zach can shuffle things around, keeps checking in with the technicians to know who needs what and if we need to shift for the customer's benefit.
You mentioned Zach. Is Daniel and Zach your heir apparents here?
They are.
Interesting. Internal succession plan. You've got to come back one day and let's bring Daniel and Zach on and let's just talk where you are in the process and how they view the opportunity that they have in front of them.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I'm sure they would like it too.
Okay. You also told me about your service advisor interviews twice a day, that everybody kind of checks in?
Daniel on the front end as our manager, probably within the hour before lunch, he will check in with the advisors and just gets to some of the critical points. Hey, Carm, how are you doing? What customers do you have? And we operate on tech metrics, so it's easy for them to pull up their screen and show just the jobs that they're responsible for. And Daniel just kind of interviews them. We use statuses for all the different jobs and where they may be. They're color coded, helps the guys to identify and see what's happening. Hey, are we on parts hold? Are we on an authorization hold? If we're on parts hold, where are those parts coming from? Is it a problem, or are there other sources that we may need to consider? If the customer is taking some time to think about it, has it been a day? Have we communicated with them, checked in? Just keeps the guys accountable to make sure that they're problem solving on anything in our way to getting the customer's vehicle fixed and back to them, as well as just communications in general and problem solving. And then he'll do that once again towards the end of the day between 4 and 5 o'clock. He just interviews them. Hey, Carm, how are you doing? What do you have? Talk to me about these. He's really good at, being personable with the guys and tell me a story. Tell me what's going on with all your customers. If he sees something where maybe they need to be challenged to stay accountable and make sure we're taking care of our customers, he'll gently give them a little nudge and we go from there.
It's a look-see. It's almost kind of like a look-through.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's, I believe, such a critical service advisor twice a day. What was it, 10 and 2? I mean, how's it work out?
I think we do it at 11 and 4. And for the longest time, he actually set an alarm on his phone. And so his alarm would go off and it's time for the interviews.
Yeah, 11 seems like more of a better time in the morning as it gets so hectic and getting all these confirms coming back and, yeses to the items you quoted. And now look at the stack and see where the follow-up and follow-through and the promised times are all going to be. And have we touched base with the customer? It's almost like a great service advisor is going to have all this going through their mind. But they got 2 techs and they've got all these vehicles, all this production for the day. I think it's one of the toughest jobs in our industry, Parker. I really do.
No question. And Daniel's not there just putting them on the spot. He's truly supporting them.
Yeah.
So as they get busy, they'll prepare estimates and ask him to just take a look. So he'll go through a lot of estimates before they present to customers just to make sure, hey, did we tell a good story? Did we provide value? So the customer is going to understand, even in the inspection, we want that to stand by itself. And, you mentioned DVI. Who knows what the DVI is? Well, we find there's so many acronyms in our business, PCM and BCM and blah, 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 all these different acronyms. And I tell the guys and advisors, hey, the first time you use that acronym, please put in parentheses body control module. Then you can go on and use BCM 5 more times, but let's define it so that the customer understands what we're talking about and tell them a story.
That's a great point. A great author. I mean, you read a business book and they're trying to come up with I believe in BCM or whatever it is. They do always define it and put it in parentheses. You're 100% right. I think maybe it was our Remarkable Results community on Facebook, and I talked about efficiency. And so I can't remember who it was that chimed up and says, "Oh, you got to have Parker Branch on."
It might have been maybe Brian Walker from Shop Marketing Pros.
It could have been, it could have been Brian.
Jennifer
it may have been Jennifer. Oh my God, yeah, you're right. And so we got together just to kind of come up with the outline of this show, so we knew where we were going to go with this thing, you started to talk to me about having the right parts in stock. We hate to wait. And you and I were sharing our philosophy. And if you sell it 4 times a year, you should have it on the shelf. That's my opinion. And you were talking about your tool carts. Walk us through this attitude of efficiency that you have.
Sure. Well, first of all, our primary shop is only 3,815 square feet, where we have 8 bays. And until this year, opening up the additional space, that was home. That was it.
That was
And so
tiny.
you can imagine it's pretty
Yeah,
tight to have 8
yeah, yeah.
full size above ground 12,000 to 15,000 pound truck lifts. It was the building that we started in was an old Amco that we bought years ago.
All right.
And so it had a transmission build area and some part storage area off to the side of the shop space. And so we pretty quickly realized that we needed to put all of our larger toolboxes off to the side of the bay space in that area. And so all the guys work out of, some of the roll carts are pretty big and intricate nowadays. So they have a good amount of all their primary need tools in their carts. They choose to work out of carts just to create additional space around the vehicles and over in the workspace itself. So we do that. Yeah, that's one of the primary things as far as space, because they're so tight in there.
And tell me about your carts.
Typically, it's like being a dentist office or, a transmission builder. They really have their day-to-day specific items in there that they know they're going to need for all their basic jobs and diagnosis and so forth. So, everything's strategically placed in the carts, and they're back and forth as they're doing a job, just reaching over, a foot or two to the cart. And so, yeah, it's almost like seeing a dental tray with their specific tools.
Yeah, if you're going in for a cleaning, they've got a certain pack of tools that they open. If you're going to get a crown, everything is designed specifically, or at least what they believe that 80% of the tools that they need when they're going to hit this job. So you have a great discipline for that. I remember I was telling you a story about, we did a great episode on lean as it related to an oil change, and they wrote down all the movements that they did to do an oil change, and it looked like a plate of spaghetti. And they started to realize, and I think it was Christy Hudson up in Troy Auto Care in the Detroit area. And son of a gun, did they say, we got to put the filters here, and then there's this great story about, just heard about putting a battery tester Velcro to every lift. Just buy one and just have it ready, because the tools that we're constantly using in a particular vein of, if we're going to do a DVI on a vehicle and we want to do a battery inspection, where's the damn tool? So, and where's the battery charger? Oh, it's in the back room in the tool room. No, maybe there needs to be 2 or 3 placed perfectly around the shop so that we're not running and looking. And I'll never forget, and I know this may be a little rabbit hole thing, but I remember going to a warehouse one day. They were trying to impress upon some of us in the automotive business how critically important it was for efficiency inside the movement of goods. And any place there needed to be a ladder, a pallet rack, a tow motor, forklift, it was painted. The picture of the thing was actually painted either on the wall or on the floor. So everyone knew, this is where you come to get it. This is where you put it back. And if it's missing, it's being used, right? It's brilliant stuff. And should we be doing that in our great industry?
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure. Like you said, with the battery tests, we do, most of the vehicles we're working on have 2 batteries in them, and we always isolate so that we can test them one at a time. And during our inspection process, each technician does have their own tester, and we'll take pictures of the tester for the inspection
Yeah.
over each battery so that they can understand, oh, I see where that is. That was on the driver's side, and that battery tested at this rating and so forth. So, yeah. And then the efficiency in the bays, because of the size, we have some challenges having stuff ideally where it should be, but we do our best with that. We've even gone so far as to build some specific benches and shelving that are a little narrow so they can be off to the sidelines in all 4 corners of the shop to support the technicians.
Amazing business with a lot of great disciplines. So darn impressed. Let's talk about, you acquired, and you were telling me, listen, Carm, we had 8, and then we added 6, right? And you had 8
Yeah.
in 3,800 square feet, and then you've got 6. So you bought a building next door?
over the years, as we grew, parking became an issue. So our original building just sits on a half acre and we only had about 25 parking spaces. Well, including myself, there's 15 employees there every day, which has just grown, two since we made the acquisition. So even before, we were pretty tight. Our neighbor had a 1 acre property with an 11,000 square foot building, and he had a dry cleaning business and an industrial laundry, and two warehouses that he used for storage. And we were leasing parking from him. With the dry cleaning business, he had like 4 employees inside the building. So he had 49 parking spaces. And of course, we worked out a deal, and it was pretty sweet because all I did was plow some snow for him and he let us park over there.
Nice
But
trade.
anyhow, yeah, it was great. So during COVID, as you can imagine, not so many people were getting their dry cleaning done because they weren't going into work. And he was in a good position, but as the business slowed down, he said, I'm kind of done. I'm ready to retire. We started talking about the building, and really, I didn't have a choice. We had to have that parking. So we worked through that over a period of time and ended up buying the building. There was a space on the west side of that building is closest to our existing shop, and they're neighboring properties. So, there is a curb between us, but literally you can drive out into the street and turn right back into the other parking lot. So we have a walking path. We go back and forth to that building, but there was a 4,200 square foot space, about 40 feet deep and 100 feet long, that we knocked 6 holes in the side of the building, put in 6 bay doors, and we literally had to remove the entire floor out of the building and change the grade and drop it down so that we'd have enough height for full-size lifts. So we did all that and added these 6 bays over there and picked up all that parking, which has been fantastic. And from there, we had COVID. My wife is a hairstylist, and she was renting space for years, and that space went out of business during COVID as well. And so we thought, well, she needs a place to work and we could use some help with the rent. So we built a hair salon, and you might find it humorous. The name is Hair Mechanics, and they're spelled with an X.
I
And the
love
X,
it.
yeah, the X is a pair of scissors. So Hair Mechanics opened up before Branch Automotive finished developing its space over there too. So we have a hair salon with 8 renters renting space over there that help us to
Wow.
keep that building taken care of. And the 6 bays that we added are in 4,200 square feet. So it feels like the Taj Mahal to the
I bet
guys
you.
with all that space.
Parker, is all the work for those bays, those 6 bays, out of the main location?
It is, and we have line of sight antenna system. Daniel's a real tech guy too, so he's got the internet piped across from one building into the
Nice.
other. And
Nice.
so all of our systems, the tech metric, the digital vehicle inspections, everything that we operate on, we have big screens in both buildings, computers in both building, access to all of our service information and that. So really feels great to be in either building from that standpoint. No
Cool.
technology issue.
You're
A
great.
little redundancy, yeah.
Great stories to tell for everyone to learn from. Let's go back 15 years, or just think of the last 15 years. Anything you do differently?
Oh boy. I don't think so. We learn as we go. One thing is getting into coaching. If I had known about coaching in our industry and could have gotten in earlier, absolutely, that's something I would change if I could have got help sooner. So Cecil and the Institute have been awesome. John Waffler, I
Sure
started
do.
John Waffler over at RLO, and then when they were purchased and merged with the Institute,
Yeah,
that's been even better. It's been great. They've done a good job of going over some of the old RLO programs, improving them and bringing them back to life. But yeah, that whole process. When I started, it's pretty typical. I was a technician, worked in the dealerships for almost 20 years, was frustrated with how things were going, and decided to go out on my own. And so I had a lot to learn.
love it. Gutsy move. You in your first move, you bought the Amco building.
Mhm.
I mean,
I actually,
I'm sorry, it was a huge gut thing. Where'd you get the money? The bank?
I started in a 2 bay rented space that was literally 3 buildings down from the Amco. And within 2 years, we were blowing up. It was interesting. I think maybe it was Ratchet and Wrench or Vision, one of the two that I had gone to in the last couple of seasons. There was a guy there that they were giving kudos to for doing $1 million in service out of a Two Bay shop. And I thought, wow, I was in a Two Bay shop in 2012. I ran 850 out of that space, and I had no coaching, no idea. My parts margins were probably half of what they should have been, and my labor rate was just a guess. But anyway, we operated in that space for 3 years and we're just blowing up. Honestly, mostly word of mouth. And the very beginning, Carm, I would stand out on the street holding up a sign, new diesel emissions test station. I was that
I love it.
green and
You're
funny thing to think of not too long ago, but we blew up in that space. I reached out to the AMCO because I could see they had really slowed down. When I did reach out to him, he told me, you ought to buy my building. This would be great for you. You could move right in and get right to work. And so that's what we did.
How cool. You have any pictures of you standing out and saying we're a diesel emissions place? Do you have any pictures?
No, because I was by myself.
Oh my man.
I still have the sign.
It's an incredible story. And all I could think about again in my head is my brain just goes a mile a minute. The guerrilla marketing to its purest
Oh,
form,
yeah, sure.
right? This is how it's done. Leaflets on cars, door to door, anything you can to make noise to bring attention to people. And I just love it.
Yeah.
Great guerrilla marketing. Well, all of these great things that you've done have proven to build all this success. We want to have you back. We want to talk about some great other things that you're doing. So glad to hear this story. Tons of great gold nuggets that have come out of this. At least it will help motivate, I believe, some people to say, if Parker can do it, I can do it. We've got to make those gutsy decisions. And that's, I think, what you've been doing.
I love to share that and see other people succeed. So I'd be happy to be back and talk. You asked about where'd the money come from? How'd you do it? I'm sure we could talk a little bit about that and how that went to, if there's people out there that are thinking about that, to give them some tools and inspiration how they could do it.
All right, you're going to come back and we're going to do where'd the money come from? I'm sure you had a business plan. I'm sure you sat down with a banker or a rich uncle.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you one thing, the Chamber of Commerce in Denver, I had a parent that was wise enough to say, you need to go to the Chamber of Commerce and learn everything you possibly can about business, how to do it, how to pay taxes and all that. And that was the beginning of that whole story.
I love that story. And I've been using the word lately, Parker, adult education. And I was really talking about night school because way back in our day, you go to night classes somewhere in high school, maybe or college. But I'm saying the word adult education, and then I think, wow, how many episodes have we done in 9.5 years with all this brilliant discussion and insights about business and leadership and great stories and authors that what better place to get an adult education about business? Oh, by the way, if you're in the automotive aftermarket, it's just a bonus to learn all about our industry. It's our industry. It's adult education or business education for our industry specifically. So yeah, I mean, I've heard some great stories. Want to hear yours on how all that developed. And then great stories to teach your guys, Daniel and Zach.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, your podcast, we get on there and listen all the time, and I'm constantly learning. I'll never stop learning. And regardless of our productivity or successes, we love talking to other shop owners, visiting other shops, and sharing.
Yeah, visiting shops. Wow, what a huge benefit. But again, you're going to get into coaching because you put your ego on the shelf and you want to be a better person, not only a better person, develop wealth for your family and have figured out a succession plan. But look at all that you have mouths to feed. And that's one of the things that I think we have to stop and think about. Are we feeding them well? Or God, McDonald's is expensive today. I mean, how could we relate, Parker, to a cheap meal? We used to say, are they eating steak or are they eating McDonald's? And today, McDonald's is expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not, maybe the analogy has to change. I don't know that there is a cheap
Yeah.
way to take care of that. But
Domino's.
yeah,
$7.99 large is from Domino.
yeah.
It's Domino's or steak.
Yeah, to your point, we have to be paying attention to our KPIs in terms of our advisor pay, our technician pay, and our
All of it.
wages there to make sure that we're keeping up with the industry standard that keeps them in good shape. And if folks aren't aware of what that is, then get some coaching. You'll love it.
Thanks for your wisdom. Great to know you, meet you. Thanks for hanging out with Tracy in Denver last week. She just couldn't come back and talk about you and Daniel. We had dinner together last night. She told me all about it. Parker Branch from Branch Automotive, Littleton, Colorado. Thanks so much for being here, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Carm.